We have some breaking news here on a Tuesday as the Pittsburgh Steelers are signing wide receiver Isaiah Hodgins in NFL free agency before their matchup with the New England Patriots here in the third week of the NFL season. Today we're going to be talking about what Hodgins brings to the table here and why I like this signing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But before we get into all that, guys, this is why you subscribe to the channel. This is why you join the over 94,000 Yinzers that have already subscribed to our channel, because we provide you guys with breaking news updates just like the one that we're giving to you guys today as fast as we possibly can, whether it's a trade, whether it's a signing, whether it's a big cut, whether it's placing someone on IR. We give you guys weekly injury updates, game previews. In fact, we just put up our Week 3 preview for this week's game versus the New England Patriots on our channel up earlier today. So if you guys want to join the most extensive fan experience for any Steelers fan out there here on YouTube, make sure you guys click that subscribe button and join the Steelers Talk family today. So it was originally reported today from Fox Sports' Jordan Schultz that former Giants wide receiver Isaiah Hodgins is signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers, some added wide receiver depth for Aaron Rodgers. And that's exactly what Hodgins brings to the table, guys. Very quality wide receiver depth, in my opinion. He's about to turn 27 years old. He's nearly 6'4", but he's technically listed at 6'3". 200 pounds, so brings some good size to the table. He's known as a big-bodied, short to intermediate route runner with reliable hands that can also run block. He started his career in Buffalo back in 2021, left there in 2022 to go play for the Giants, played really well down the stretch there, helped them win that playoff game versus the Minnesota Vikings with Daniel Jones quarterbacking them, and then he was there as late as last year in 2024 there with the G-Men. You guys can take a look at his numbers during his time in New York there, and in 2022, looked pretty darn good, in his limited time there. 392 yards receiving with 4 touchdowns. He added even more than that in the postseason. But then, the 2 years after that, just decreasing returns. He's been somebody that definitely has a limited physical profile. He's not going to be somebody that burns you deep. He's going to be somebody with a little bit of a limited physical profile, but he's got a big body. He does have somewhat reliable hands. He's a pretty darn good route runner, too, for his athletic profile, and he run blocks, so he certainly fits what the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking for in a depth wide receiver. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Grade the signing of Isaiah Hodgins down there in the comment section, A, B, C, D, or F. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Mando Whole Body Deodorant. Well, I tell you about our sponsor today. Give me a grade for the signing of Isaiah Hodgins. With that, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Mando Whole Body Deodorant. And you guys know the feeling, man. It's game day, and you've been working hard all week, and your lucky jersey, well, maybe it's smelling a little too lucky, if you know what I'm saying. Let's be honest, regular deodorant doesn't just cut it, and after a long day, things can get pretty ripe. But there's a real game changer. Mando deodorant plus sweat control. This isn't just another cover-up. Mando is one stick that does 2 jobs: powerful odor and sweat control. It actually stops odor before it even starts. No more masking, just freshness. This isn't your typical deodorant, folks. It's clinical strengths, which means it's 2 times better at controlling sweat than the standard deodorant. It controls both sweat and odor for 72 hours. And just after 12 hours, underarm sweat was reduced by 92%. I got to tell you guys, this stuff works. I actually use Mando deodorant every single day. I also use their body wash. It's absolutely fantastic products, guys, that make you smell fresh all day long while also keeping your pits dry all day long as well. So Mando Starter Pack, I couldn't recommend it more, guys. If you want to try Mando's products out, it's perfect for new customers because it comes with a solid stick of deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and or deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Plus, you get, as a special listener, for just our listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Just use code CHAT at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. Say goodbye to sweat stains and hello to long-lasting freshness with our friends at Mando Whole Body Deodorant today. All right, so now talking more here about Isaiah Hodgins, and I think he's a good fit for what Pittsburgh needs at the wide receiver position right now. Somebody that's been around the block, somebody that is a good short to intermediate route runner. I mean, listen, man, Hodgins is not going to be a vertical threat. That's just not what he does. But the Steelers are literally packed to the brim in the wide receiver room with vertical threats, right? You got DK Metcalf, you got Calvin Austin III, Roman Wilson, Scotty Miller. Everybody outside of Ben Skoranek is a deep threat, and Skoranek, as a bigger type of blocking receiver, doesn't bring the level of route running and hands, frankly, that Hodgins brings to the table, at least in my opinion. So I think that Hodgins is somebody that's going to come in here. He's going to be able to take some of those short and intermediate routes, somebody that Aaron Rodgers can trust to some degree, somebody that can go out there in those 12 personnel packages and help run block if they want to play those condensed formations. I love Calvin Austin, the third man, to death. He's an awesome player for what he is, but he's not a run blocker, all right? And when you have him out there in those 12 personnel packages, it is affecting the Steelers' run game a little bit when he's out there being asked to block these bigger corners and DBs and all these different players. Hodgins can handle those assignments a little bit better. So I do think Hodgins will get into the rotation. Now the question is, to what extent? Is he going to be this team's bona fide wide receiver 3 for this season or eventually get there over Roman Wilson? Because plain simply, guys, Roman has one catch in garbage time pretty much in 2 games to start this year. He played a little bit more in week 2, but, Rodgers just didn't find that connection with him last week versus the Seattle Seahawks. So I think with the addition of Hodgins here, somebody that can get open to those short and intermediate areas of the field. He's a much better route runner than his athletic profile gives him any business of being. He also, like I said, brings pretty decent hands to the table and run blocking as well. So I think he's a very good fit for what the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking for in terms of a depth wide receiver. But because Roman Wilson is younger, he is a little bit more of a vertical threat. He is much, much faster than Hodgins is. You would hope that Roman Wilson as a third-round pick can play better than Isaiah Hodgins, who's more of like a good wide receiver 4, kind of emergency wide receiver 3 type of receiver. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Who's going to be the wide receiver 3 here in Pittsburgh this year? Type RW if you think it's still going to be Roman Wilson and you still believe in Rome, or if you think Isaiah Hodgins is going to come in here and steal those receptions and those targets from Roman Wilson. Type AIH down there in the comments section. And now we'll move forward here with Tomlin Tuesday. Coach T talked to the media today in the south side of Pittsburgh, talking about last week's loss, talking about what's going to be happening moving forward, and he gave us some injury updates as we get ready for this Week 3 matchup versus the New England Patriots. He said that Deshaun Elliott, Derek Harmon, and Joey Porter Jr. all have a chance to play this week and that they're all improving, but I think the quote that he used was that they're questionable at best, so that doesn't sound too optimistic. Elliott, it was originally reported, would miss at least 2 weeks, so I really don't think Elliott will be playing this week. Harmon, it's certainly leaning towards him not playing here in Week 3, but he will be ready to go for the Dublin game in Week 4 versus the Vikings. And then Joey Porter Jr., sorry, that's not a knee injury. That's actually a hamstring injury for Joey Porter Jr. That's these hamstring injuries, man, they can be fickle and they can, kind of linger a little bit. So keep your eye on those 3 injuries right there. Just keep in mind that Joey Porter Jr.'s is a hamstring injury. Mike Tomlin also said today that Caleb Johnson, after his gaffe versus the Seattle Seahawks that, really put the Steelers out of contention to win that football game against the Seattle Seahawks this past Sunday, he is now off the kick return unit, at least for now. Tomlin did say that he can earn that spot back, but he is going to be losing those privileges of being out there as this team's lead kickoff return man. And honestly, I think that's a good thing. He was not doing a very good job, in my opinion. He wasn't getting past really like the 25 all that often, and I think you want to get past that 25 closer to the 30 more often than Caleb was. In terms of who's going to replace him, not even Mike Tomlin knows. He was asked, and he says, I haven't even begun to think about it. So I would think that if you're saying he's coming off, that you'd have an idea of who's going to be going in. It could be Kenneth Gainwell. It could be Roman Wilson. But another guy it could be, and somebody that I think is going to have a much larger role this week than he had on his first week here in Pittsburgh, was Jabril Peppers. Mike Tomlin sounded very, very pleased with Peppers' first week of work, and it sounds like he is getting to a point here where he's going to have a larger role, not only on the special teams unit, where he might even return some kicks for the Steelers this year, but also on the defense. They brought him in because he is a versatile defensive piece, but I think, especially him playing against his former team in the New England Patriots this weekend, Tomlin's going to want to get him out there and give him an opportunity to really stick it to his former team. He also said that he, quote-unquote, feels great about the offensive line situation. He talked about how Broderick Jones significantly improved from week 2 to week 1, which is true, but, it still wasn't fantastic. He's still dipping his head too much. His hand placement is still not very good. He still has his hands way too low. It's just easy for these edge rushers to get to his hands and beat him with a finesse move. But it was a lot better in terms of the pressures that he was giving up. It was actually Troy Fautanu's week to have kind of a poor week. And then I would also say that this unit as a whole has had a tough time picking up stunts. Seattle is well known for the stunts that they run, and they didn't do a good job picking those up. And it just led to a lot of quick pressures on Aaron Rodgers. Now, my take on the offensive line situation, like people are saying that this offensive line sucks and stuff like that, and they might, but like I also will acknowledge here that this is still a young group that is still gelling together and learning how to play with each other and getting that chemistry built up. And I think that this is a situation where hopefully, once we get to the end of the season in December and January, this unit has really gelled together. They have that chemistry. They have that lived experience in the National Football League over the course of a season, and this unit is better at the end of the season than they are through the first 2 weeks of the season. Maybe that's just me drinking the copium here, but I still do have some level of optimism and hope for this offensive line to develop as the season goes on. But maybe, like I said, with Pat Meyer leading the way, that's just never going to happen. But Tomlin also blamed fatigue for the run game struggles in terms of the defense. He talked about how he thought he did a good this unit did a good job against the run early on, and then they didn't do quite as good of a job down the stretch. And he thought that the unit got gassed with injuries to Alex Highsmith, to Isaiah Loudermilk, even to some of the guys at the linebacker positions. He felt like some of the guys were getting gassed towards the end of the game on Sunday. And, the numbers kind of do bear that out, all right? To be fair to Mike Tomlin, like the first half run defense, it was actually pretty decent. They held them to just 3 yards a carry, only one run, only one explosive run, and just 4 runs of a decent yardage there of 5+. So not bad whatsoever for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the first half, but then the same amount of carries for Seattle in the second half, and they doubled the amount of yards, and of course the yards per attempt or yards per carry. They had 6 runs of 5+ yards, and then 4 of those went for 10+ yards. So they had 5 total explosive runs given up. And, if you want to stop the run and you want to say you had a good day at the office as a run defense, you just can't give up those explosive runs, especially like in those 3rd and goal situations where you're just 19 yards away from the touchdown and Kenneth Walker gets that touchdown. It's just unacceptable stuff from the Steelers' run defense down the stretch. And, absolutely that's the case. But Pittsburgh can't afford to be run down again. I mean, it seems like that this defense has been losing steam, or at least it did last week. I thought in week 1 they actually showed up at the end of the game. They had 2 big stops against Justin Fields and the Jets after getting ramrodded all day long. But then in week 2, it was kind of the opposite. And it kind of felt like after the Caleb Johnson mistake, the wind kind of got out of their sails. And, of course, with the injuries, some guys had to play a bit more than maybe they were used to at this point in the season. And they might have been a little bit tired. But, man, you got to make a big play in the fourth quarter when, I know that mistakes were made, but you got to pick up your teammates, and you can't give up the types of explosive runs that they were giving up. So, all the stuff that I've been talking about on the channel here this week, guys, of how to fix it. Play Y.A. Black at nose tackle more. Allow Keanu Benton to penetrate more instead of asking him to 2-gap and hold the line of scrimmage. Play Cole Holcomb and Malik Harrison on early downs more, and, give Peyton Wilson maybe a little bit more of a reduced snap load. Those are some of the things that you can do, in my opinion, to sturdy up the interior of this Steelers run defense. We'll see if Mike Tomlin makes those changes this week. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. I really do appreciate all of your guys' support making it to the end of today's show. Isaiah Hodgins is the signing today, guys. I think it's a good addition for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Brings a different flavor of receiver that they don't have currently in the wide receiver room. And hopefully he can provide some short and intermediate route running ability for Aaron Rodgers. And also some red zone ability, catching some touchdowns for this football team. All right, that'll be it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for making it to the end of today's program with me. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and until then, here we go, Steelers.